Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to talk about responsible story consumption. And what I mean by this is that people do have a responsibility to the types of stories that they promote, to the types of stories that they spend their own time with and encourage other people to spend time with, and most importantly, encourage storytellers to continue to tell. And I try to make people understand this as I do study and speak on mythology and teach it, and its various archetypes and the cultural functions it fulfills and how it operates within our society. That because of that, because it's so important, and because it teaches us which values to hold and what things to fear, what things to avoid, what things should be taboo, it helps us to maintain legacy and to know what traditions should be held to, or even to know what things we should change about our society. These are all functions of mythology, and there's more. And because of that, it's important for us to seek out the right stories and encourage the right stories to be told. So before I go deeper into that, I want to cover some ways that people in general tend to evaluate stories. And mostly we're going to talk about films in terms of the examples, but this can apply to written works, comic books, novels, whatever. But the first way, and the most common way that people tend to evaluate qualities of stories, is simply by their taste. And this is not in any way a valid criteria to evaluate the quality of a film, of a story. But people think that just because they liked it, it's a great movie. And they can like it for a number of reasons. Maybe they liked the certain actor or actress in it. Maybe it made them laugh at a certain time of day or in their life when they needed it. It was escapism or whatever. That is their taste, and that's valid in terms of taste. And then that's where every film has to start when it meets us, or every story has to start, meets us in our taste. Are we having fun spending time with this story? Is our experience of this story a positive one? That is the beginning of our evaluation of it, but that is far, far, far from the end of it. And too many people out there, whether they're just talking to friends or posting on social media or even making their own YouTube channels or posting their own blogs, they will tell you that a movie is bad or good in terms of quality based solely on the fact of whether or not they liked it or disliked it. And that is not at all even remotely a valid criteria for evaluation. The second way that a lot of people tend to evaluate films is the agenda driven. Does this film or story, does this match up with my values? Does it express the message that I try to get out there in the world or that I support? And we see this on all different sides of philosophies or politics. Of course, we talk about the SJWs in this channel, so you're obviously going to see a movie that's about a strong, independent woman who doesn't take any flack from the men in her life. Regardless of whether it's a horribly written and acted or directed film or not, you are going to have a large portion of SJWs that will automatically give it their support, lockstep. And you see it on the other side of the spectrum too. I mean, a lot of these religious movies that come out, a lot of them are just really subpar in quality of storytelling and whatnot, but you'll have a huge number of evangelicals or whatever just absolutely support it 100% no matter what, because it's in line with their values and is preaching the message that they want to get out into the world. I see this a lot. I was just reading a review actually today that Tim Lim sent me where Deacon Graydonis, and he is a Catholic film reviewer, and he's actually a pretty renowned film reviewer. He has degrees and whatnot in film, and he reviewed Into the Spider-Verse and gave it a positive review. Basically, after reading his review, his main criteria was it's a good family film. And it adheres to the family values that he wants promoted in the world. That is not a valid criteria for saying a film is a quality film or not. The third way which people should evaluate films by is simply by the quality of the story. And this is according to whatever medium they receive the story through. So if it's a film, then obviously you have to pay attention to things like directing and acting and so forth. But also just in terms of a story in general, there's things like pacing, there's character development, and plot integrity, all of these things. And you don't have to study story and have a degree like I do or anything, but you can spend a little time thinking about this type of stuff and read a little bit about it here or there, and you pick these things up. And it's pretty easy to eventually acquire the mind to evaluate a film. So you should be able to say if a film is objectively good or bad in terms of its quality, whether or not you like it or dislike it. There are plenty of films out there I can say that's a good film. I don't like it at all, and I'm never going to watch it again, but I can tell you that it's a good film. So there are a lot of, and vice versa. You can do that the other way around too. And that's good when people reach that point where they can judge a movie or a story based on the actual quality of the story. But still, that's not enough. There's one more facet to the equation here that people too often just disregard. And that is, if the story is a incarnation or an alteration or some sort of telling of a pre-established mythology that's already doing a cultural work in society, then you need to take that into account and judge the way it adapts and or alters that mythology. We have a lot of mythologies, whether they come from comic books or book series, movies or whatever, older films or whatever. In our public consciousness, there are certain stories and characters that exist, and these are our cultural mythologies. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Batman or Paul Bunyan or whatever. These are characters at different times in our history who have been more prominent and doing more or less cultural work than others. Superheroes are doing an immense cultural work in our society today. And if you're going to do an incarnation of one of their stories, you're going to adapt some portion of that mythology to a medium like film. And if you're going to watch that, then you need to judge and consider how well it adapts this and if it is altering the mythology to the point where it can no longer do its cultural work. A great example of this is the Venom film. I'm so sick and tired of hearing people, even YouTubers and whatnot that I greatly respect, talk about how great the Venom movie was, and hey, it was just really fun, and I didn't expect that, and then they tweet about it and whatnot, and then they encourage other people to go, and now it made all this money, and now we're going to get another movie. It does not matter how well done the film was. From its very premise, a Venom story completely divorced from Spider-Man is a deal breaker. That right there, it doesn't matter if it was freaking Gone with the Wind, it's a deal breaker. Because now that movie's come out and now that people have talked about it positively and encouraged people to see it and went to see it themselves a number of times or whatever, they have encouraged and they have put their stamp of approval on the complete and total divorce from the Venom story from the Spider-Man story. They're saying, yes, Sony, do more of that. Continue your own cinematic universe divorced from the rest of the Marvel universe. We want more Venom without Spider-Man. And you might think that's reactionary, but no, it's not. Of course, comic book fans, of course, people who are in love with the character and know a lot about it, of course, they're never going to forget or just suddenly decide that Venom's not a part of the Spider-Man story. But in terms of the public consciousness, from this point going forward, movies have a lot more power than comic books do to reach a wider audience and to allow their stories to seep into the public consciousness. And it doesn't matter that Spider-Man 3 had Venom in it. That there's cultural memory is very limited, especially to your average film goer. So that movie now being in the public consciousness, and now that people have encouraged it and told them, yes, we want more of that, and they're going to do a sequel, and they're going to continue, you have now taken away that wonderful part of Peter Parker's hero's journey and his character arc coming across the symbiote and the trial that it faced for him to overcome, the way it forced him to face his own darkness, and the way Venom became in a lot of ways, a shadow mirrored self version of a villain, a perfect villain for him. All of that profound storytelling is gone now, simply because people kind of liked Venom. Yeah. People don't take into account the consequences of their approval, their flippant approval of different films and whatnot. The same thing happened with Wonder Woman. I've talked about that before, and I actually made a video that received quite a bit of views on my channel about how I would not see the movie when it was out. Since then, since it came out in DVD, I have had to watch the movie because a couple of students, of course, have wanted to do papers on the movie, so I had to watch it on my own, borrowing it from a friend, not paying money for it, that's for sure. And the film is not that great. It's not a wonderfully made film. It's an okay film in terms of quality, in terms of story, but that's not enough. You can't stop there. How is it adapting the mythology of Wonder Woman? And the answer is horribly, horribly. It completely removes the ambassador of peace and the emissary of the Amazonian way. It just makes her forged to be a weapon. It makes her run away from her mother with a boy. It's an awful, awful adaptation. It completely strips her of so many things that have made the character important and profound. Now, granted, a character like Wonder Woman does not have the place in popular consciousness that somebody like Spider-Man does in terms of people knowing her origins and the specifics of it. But you do have people who love the comic and who the character means a great deal to, and then you have people who grew up on the Linda Carter series or rediscovered it at a certain point in their life or whatever. And that's important. And she's a profound character in our public consciousness because of that reason. But now because people just fell all over themselves to applaud the Wonder Woman movie, now they've forever changed that character in the public consciousness. It's really a sad thing. I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have as a member of society, as a human being, a responsibility to yourself. And you need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support. Beyond just whether or not you liked a movie or not, and beyond just whether or not the film meets your agendas and your values or whatever, and certainly beyond whether or not a film is just simply a quality story. When it comes to really promoting it and giving it our money, especially in our capitalistic structure here, where we're buying the tickets and the buzz and the money that comes in, it really tells the filmmakers to make more of these stories, you need to consider the consequences. So, as I say, consume stories responsibly. That's my thoughts on that subject. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing. The link to the Patreon is below. I definitely appreciate all of my patrons getting some exclusive content and giveaways soon, including the commentary DVDs that we do for our rewatch. And we are doing the Superman 78 rewatch this Saturday. There will be a DVD with our commentary on that will be a giveaway as well. So check out that Patreon and stay tuned for live streams, reviews, archetype videos, and more. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.